Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our webinar, A Recipe for Success using Google BigQuery and Looker at Blue Apron. My name's Shane Glass. I'm a developer advocate here at Google Cloud, and I cover data ingestion and business intelligence, which just means that I get to play with data before and after it gets into BigQuery, but also while it's in BigQuery. I'll be the host and moderator for today's presentation, but more importantly, with me today we have Pooja Bhatia, who is a senior data architecture engineer at Blue Apron. Pooja is going to talk about how Blue Apron, one of the leading meal kit delivery service companies, built an insight mining platform to better understand their customers to ensure that they're meeting and exceeding expectations with every interaction. So I want to get started and get out of the way so you can hear from Pooja. But first, let me go over a few quick housekeeping items today. So we'll have a 15-minute Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you'd like to ask a question, please do so. We just ask that you type your question into the Q&A box and click send, and we'll get to as many as we can. We'll do our best to answer all of the questions at the end of the presentation, but again, we want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we may not get to all of them. This presentation is being recorded, and we will be sending out the recording after it's over. The windows you see on your screen are all customizable, meaning you can minimize them, maximize them, or move them around as you see fit. And if you accidentally minimize or close a window for any reasons, no worries. Just click the toolbar on the top of this, on the toolbar menu on the bottom of your screen to bring it back up. Okay, so with that, let me hand it over to Pooja, and let's get started.
Thank you, Shane, for that lovely introduction. And thank you, everyone, for making it to this webinar today. I hope everybody is doing well, safe, and healthy right now. My name is Pooja Bhatia, and I am a senior data architecture engineer at Blue Apron, which means I get to build amazing data models, reports, dashboards for all our internal stakeholders. And in my free time, I love to draw, solve crosswords, and Sudoku puzzles. Today, we'll be talking a bit about how my organization leverages Google BigQuery and Looker as an amazing platform and tool to get insights. So for those of you who haven't heard about Blue Apron before, we are a meal kit service that delivers fresh ingredients and chef-designed recipes to your door on a weekly basis. We also have an amazing wine subscription service that delivers delicious bundled wines to your door on a monthly basis. And apart from these two subscription services, we have an amazing marketplace platform that we use to provide a la carte products such as kitchen tools, olive oils, spice blends, and last but not the least, wine. So this is what we do, and our main goal essentially is to make sure that we make home cooking super easy and accessible for everyone. At the crux of our business, there is data and data discovery, and for that we use two amazing tools, that's Google BigQuery and Looker. So let me start off by introducing what BigQuery is and how we leverage it at Blue Apron. So we use Google BigQuery as our data warehouse. It is an amazing, fast, serverless platform that works seamlessly for all the ad hoc analysis. For us at Blue Apron, we use the ELT approach of data integration, which means we extract, load, and then transform data. The reason why we chose this strategy is because we have a lot of diverse data at Blue Apron. Hence, it's easier for us to extract and load data, and then on as needed basis, we transform the data points and build our models and fact tables. The structure of BigQuery for us is that we have a separate data set for each team, which means every team would have their own BigQuery data set, and then views would be shared across data sets to allow different teams to access data. About permissioning is done at data set level, and the permissioning is applied via Airflow, and it's all done programmatically. So as you can see, like once the setup is done and access is ready, it's very easy for us to get out of the way and just start using BigQuery. So, speaking about the wonderful features of BigQuery that we love and cherish and use a lot, what you see on the screen. Practically, there's no virtual machines, there's no cluster deployment, there is no setting keys or indexes, essentially no maintenance of any kind, which enables my team to focus on other important critical tasks and get out of the way of other users. So BigQuery, essentially the setup is ready, and that takes us to the next step. BigQuery is super fast, and it's an amazing, powerful tool. You can process billions of rows in seconds, and that's the most startling point about BigQuery. If we want to perform what if analysis, it's just so simple to upload data and run SQL against BigQuery. But my personal favorite features about BigQuery are how easy it is to save queries, share results with different teammates in different formats, and then look at the job history and figure out what you did last week. Can you reuse something from there? So those three features of BigQuery really make our lives super easy. And not to forget the BigQuery web UI validations. They make our lives so much easy. There's no more guesswork. The query that you write on the UI is validated before you hit the run button. And that just takes the whole guesswork out of the loop. And that's one reason why the data engineers at Blue Apron and our analysts simply love the web UI of BigQuery. But there's one more feature associated with Google BigQuery that we are leveraging these days. It's the Sheets data connector. So Sheets data connector is a plugin that we can use in the Google Sheets and then fetch the modeled information from BigQuery into the Google Sheets and then start building your own model. Since we are a fast-growing business, the need to plug in assumptions and external data sets into our models is unavoidable. And Sheets Data Connector makes it super easy for our analysts and business managers to perform what-if analysis and take the data-driven decisions. So yeah, I think I can't stop talking about how amazing BigQuery is and how many things we have fixed and solved because of BigQuery being so fast and agile.
Pooja, I'll say that makes one of us that can stop talking about how great BigQuery is. And I was just telling my colleague Tamara the other day that BigQuery's UI validations are really a lifesaver and make my life so much easier. This is all awesome, but I'd love to hear a little more about this graphic you have over here on the right. Do you mind walking me through that?
Yeah, sure. So what you see on the right-hand side is the high-level diagram of our core data sets of BigQuery at Blue Apron. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the ELT approach of data integration, which means we extract all the data and load it into the raw data set first, as is. And then we scrub the sensitive personal identifiable information and load the data into the source data set, which is the second data set. Which is why the highly restricted data set is the raw data set at our organization, because we want to be super cautious about all the PII information that we gather from different sources. Once into source data set, it's a playground for all of us, all the data modelers. We start building mapping tables, cleanse the data, reshape the data, and push it out to the model internal data set. That is where we form a staging layer. So it's kind of a sandbox for all the pre-release candidates. Once we have the mapping layers and the aggregations sorted out in model internal, the cherry on the cake is our model data set. That is the most clean form of information any business user or analyst can access at Blue Apron. And the thumb rule that we have followed is each table in model data set would represent a business entity. So model and model internal are the least restricted data set at our organization. So apart from all the different team-specific data sets, this data set structure of raw, source, model, internal, and model. We have a setup that's perfect for our analysts to query and analyze information for ad hoc analysis or what if analysis. But all of this is great. It's perfect for those who love to write SQL code against BigQuery. What about all our users who do not want to learn to write SQL code or want to just do a lot of insight mining on their own without writing SQL code? That's where Looker comes into picture. So we have plugged in model and model internal data set into Looker platform, and then a few dimension tables from source data set are also plugged into Looker. And that's where all our business managers and different teams collaborate and share information. Actually, that takes us to the next component of our talk, which is Looker. So Looker is our business intelligence platform that helps our teams to explore and analyze and share reports easily. It's one of the best tools we can use because there is absolutely no need for the end user to know how SQL functions, and they can still analyze a ton of data on their own without anybody's help. Looker at Blue Apron is backed with the power of Google BigQuery, and our primary stakeholders are marketing, accounting team, procurement, warehouse inventory controllers, the food safety and quality assurance team, that's the FSQA team, and the culinary experts and our product managers. Last but not the least, product managers are our most power users in Looker.
Yeah, so Pooja, I think between the Sheets data connector and BigQuery and Looker, it sounds like you've really empowered teams to really dig in and make data-driven decisions without having to be experts in the data. But I think more importantly, it sounds like y'all are really using Looker to break down silos between different teams. Am I hearing that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. So historically, we would see different teams use different reporting solutions. Like one would follow some spreadsheet model, another would come with like a Google sheet, and the third team would come with like a Looker report to the meeting. And now we have just broken down that siloed structure, and everybody is, what we're seeing from the logs that people are using Looker more and more, and they're coming for the right answers to Looker. And we cannot take the credit on our own. Looker does have a lot of cool features that we leverage, and that really comes in hand. All those features come in handy for us to break down these silos and build an amazing data culture at Blue Apron. So that's actually a great question, and that takes me to the next slide where I can't stop talking about all the favorite Looker features, but these are like the concise highlight of Looker. So the reason why we love Looker the most is because as a small data team, it's imperative for us to make Looker a self-service platform and make it more usable for our end users in Looker. And for that, we use the shared folders immensely. So the shared folders and the access management provided in Looker is super, super helpful for us to organize, cleanse the reports, and preserve the finalized reports in Looker. Additionally, the customized homepage that Looker has added recently comes in super handy, because anytime we develop a new dashboard or a Looker feature, we go ahead and pin that report onto the homepage. That way, us developers get to share our excitement and enthusiasm about new pieces. And we also get to share some, spread a little bit of awareness about the new features in Looker amongst our Looker users. The second one is like Tamara's and my favorite feature. It's like how easy it is to link data from Looker to different applications. So at Blue Apron, we have a lot of in-house applications, and like Looker is great, right? You see the numbers over there, you see the reports over there, the metrics are great. But we constantly keep on asking ourselves, like, how to make this data more actionable? What if someone could jump from Looker onto the admin application and then resolve the issue right away? And that can be done in Looker in like 3 lines of code, which always blows my mind away because like there are use cases where a customer service agent would look at the report, look at some orders, but they could jump from the Looker report onto an admin console and fix the issue on their own. So it's just so powerful and impactful to get Looker to be the part of the process for us on several levels. So that's essentially like hands down our favorite feature, the ability to jump from Looker data to different applications, and also the ability to drill in further and analyze granular data. So it's amazing to provide like the high level data and high level insights about metrics, but the ability that our users now have to drill in further and look at the order level or the most granular level of information is simply mind-blowing. And all of this could be done in Looker without an analyst spending hours writing SQL code for our business teams. So that is one feature which we are leveraging a lot these days in Looker. Another couple of features that we love are how we can schedule reports and alerts in Looker. So if at all there are certain incidents that we want that should trigger some kind of protocol or get someone's attention, we make sure we schedule those reports and alerts and empower our business users to trigger action points. If the next point on our slide is the marketplace plugins, and that is simply superb. So if you have got into Looker recently and navigated, for me it is simply I'm in a wonderland, a world full of new visualizations. Blocks opens up as soon as you enter Marketplace, and it's so easy to select one of those plugin and get back to your model and use that. So it's a very nice, innovative platform for us to jazz up our dashboards and reports and help our users get the most out of the reports that we have built. So I think that's also definitely staying on my list of favorite features. The last one, I promise, is the one where the dashboard next from Looker is amazing, and how the new fancy filters and visualizations are coming in really handy for us to communicate the information and get our users to be excited about the new reports that we're building in Looker. So I think all in all, these features just help us in empowering our internal stakeholders to use Looker and make Looker as the source of truth on so many levels. Also, a shout out to the Looker development team. There are Looker releases and new enhancements in Looker every other week, and most of the times it's such that Looker fixes the issues in the releases proactively, which works best for us, and it's kind of perfect for Blue Apron. So I actually have inculcated 3 use cases in our talk today. So of course, like, we are using Looker to monitor our orders and subscribers, but there are a certain use cases where we feel like we are literally expanding our horizons and the functionalities and the objectives that we have had for Looker. For example, one is operational efficiency. So we have plugged in different data sets from our warehouses, and therefore it's easier for our inventory controllers to monitor inventory moments and work order preparedness in Looker. So what happens is we are able to track every packaging material and ingredient in Looker on a daily basis. This is super powerful because now my business teams can take decisions about buying or even make fiscal strategies on the basis of the granular level information presented to them in Looker. So it's super nice to empower them and get out of the way and let them take the decisions. Because we are no longer like a bottleneck for any business team. They can monitor what material and how much quantity is ready at our facilities and then take those decisions. This also helps us in reducing the food wastage, which is a big one for Blue Apron. And it hits the home run because not only you're making smarter buying decisions, but you're also creating strategies and plans on the basis of data that you see in Looker. The next one actually is also really awesome because the customer is at the crux of our business model, and we use Looker to research the likes and dislikes of our customers. Our culinary and new ingredients teams, we analyze our user reviews and the net promoter score in determining the performance of our recipes. Rest assured, every recipe review submitted by our customer is read by a human at Blue Apron. And we want to make sure we understand what our customers love about our recipes, what they think about the recycling instructions, what they think about the spice level, what they think about the different cheeses that they get. It's just mind-blowing how my culinary experts and ingredients teams leverage this information from Looker and BigQuery to, create processes and allocate action points to different teams. So this is one place where we are super proud that we were able to establish a lot of customer-centric analysis within the Looker platform. Also, we have dashboards to monitor the issues reported by our customers, and we take that super seriously. So there are we derive action points for different teams and make sure that we close the loop on the issues reported by our customers. So for that, we have effectively used Looker alerts, and it's super easy to just click on a few buttons and set up alerts saying if XYZ issue shows up, make sure these teams are notified immediately. So I think that's where all the Looker features combined prove to be really useful for us. The third use case is my personal top favorite use case. It's Marketplace. So as I mentioned before, we have Marketplace, and it's our e-commerce platform for a la carte products. That's the platform that we use to provide amazing kitchen tools, spice blends, olive oils, and wine. And historically, we had the entire reporting solution built on a fragile set of spreadsheets that would break, not give enough insights. It was super difficult to maintain those spreadsheet-based models. But ever since we built BigQuery models for Marketplace and plugged those into Looker, the kind of insight and visibility that has been provided to our business teams, it's just mind-blowing, because now they can monitor the high-performing SKUs. They can look at abandoned carts. They can look at product bundling. We are able to give our business teams a lot of insights about how the promotions did over the last few months. And that's how we were able to achieve effective promotions as well. So that's one more place where we have linked Looker to our admin portals so that customer service agents can just log into Looker, review the issues and the performance of Marketplace, and then resolve the issues quickly. I think that's one of our major win in the last 6 months on the Looker platform for data architecture team. So that is kind of a proud pet project of ours. And we're doing all of this. It's really nice and amazing to see our business teams leverage Looker and BigQuery to analyze data, to solve issues. But at the same time, we have faced and continue to face a few challenges. As you see on the screen, we still have silos of reports in form of numerous spreadsheets. Our metrics are often calculated differently across reports, and it's getting less, but we continue to face that challenge. We had a legacy Looker platform that was backed by Postgres, and we recently decommissioned it. We also have a lot of Excel-savvy stakeholders that continue to build Excel-based models in spite of having a fancy Looker report. Users are tempted to just hit the download button and start building the reports. So it's kind of on us. on the data architecture teams to make sure we are spreading awareness about Looker features and educating our users to ensure that we're not building any more fragile spreadsheet-based models, but we're building something that's robust and scalable at the same time. So the methods by which we are able to accomplish and fix these challenges is by implementing a ton of measures and steps, but all of them can be tied up to with just one major point, that we are trying to foster a good data culture at our organization. So communication is definitely at the crux of this strategy. We have a dedicated group chat for all our internal stakeholders. It's called Looker Questions, and there's another one called Data Query Questions. So if at all anyone is stuck while looking for data or while writing the query, they can just pop up a question on the Slack channel, and the users would get the responses immediately. That's just kind of our way of building a community of users and making sure that people are involved in the decision making and the usage, and we get to be close to them in understanding what problems they're facing. The second one is we also make sure that we have onboarding sessions for our new employees. And a very big part of these onboarding sessions is a deep introduction for BigQuery and Looker. Apart from that, we have a custom welcome email set up in Looker, so that the training materials, definitions, and documentations are delivered to the mailbox of the new Looker user, and that's the way we just want them to start in the right fashion. Also, it's the Looker's homepage is always kept updated, and try to make sure that we plug in all the new dashboards. If there are any issues, there are mechanisms in place, the links in place, so that users can directly report an issue from Looker platform and just make sure that a bug is reported to the respective team. So yeah, we levy a lot of importance on tooltips, definitions, and documentations. Because we've learned it the hard way that adding new pieces to Looker and BigQuery is super easy, and that's how we had our legacy Looker platform. So we're super cautious about adding new pieces, but one by one, we're making sure that we are adding new metrics and stabilized information into Looker, while more and more service, platform. And for that, there's another tip that we use a lot. We make sure that once a report is finalized, we add it to the shared folder with a little bit of notes around the report. So as you see, add a little bit of information about what the report is doing, which teams use it, and when it was last updated. Same applies for the dashboards. We leave a footnote at the dashboard so that our users know whom to reach out to in case if they have questions or if they want to request enhancements, or even if they want to access the definitions associated with the metrics on the dashboard. So I feel that all of these points are just helping us to get one step closer towards our goal state. But there are a lot of exciting things for my team in future, because now we have set the stage up. It's for us to add new functionalities and stabilize and make the application options in Looker and BigQuery more of a self-service feature. So the next slide just comes in handy. What's next for us? We are slowly moving away from the data silo culture. The number of spreadsheets that show up in meetings these days are going down. We are seeing people use Looker dashboards more and more on a daily basis. And for that, I am responsible to look at the audit logs in Looker and see that the sessions are focused on our dashboards and reports rather than just downloading the numbers from Looker. We offers to the Looker platform. Our analysts have seen the value that Looker brings to the for the daily analysis, and therefore we have a sandbox model where our analysts are adding new metrics and new functionalities for the upcoming businesses. That's very, very exciting because we get to change our role from implementers and move on as a promoter or mentor for all our new developers in Looker platform. I kind of think of myself as like a cheerleader for Looker. Like we are constantly talking to with different teams and making sure that the excitement around Looker and the new features is always there amongst our report users. So that's like a big win for us because and the new visualizations, new dashboards, all of this together, it really helps us to dazzle our Looker users. And data is actually an equalizer for all of us. So it kind of brings us at the same level and puts us in the problem-solving mode rather than, hey, where is this data? Is this right, or is the other sheet right? Like all of that confusion is totally, eliminated from the cycle now. So our next goal is definitely to onboard new teams. Apart from the 7 teams that I mentioned before, we are working very closely to onboard the FP&A team and our different engineering squads onto our platform now. So actually, the visualization that you see on the screen, it's the collapsible tree visualization that we use. It's one way that you can let your user engage with the tree, and when you click on one of the nodes, the tree just expands. And every time I have shown that visualization, everybody has been like so stargazed. This is the visualization that's present in the marketplace of Looker, and there are so many other cool visualizations. It's mind-blowing, honestly. That's actually all that we had to share today.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Pooja. This has been terrific, and now we've got time to get into the questions. So I'll start with a couple here that we have in the chat. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the Q&A box, type them up and send them. So Pooja, I guess the first question that comes in here is, anytime you migrate between tech stacks, there's a learning curve, right? Can you talk about what the biggest kind of learning curve or challenges that you and your team faced as you implemented the stack you described today, so BigQuery and Looker as opposed to whatever you were using previously?
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of learnings and takeaway points from this experience, essentially because we went all in first and had a lot of metrics and reports, and there was a lot of confusion in our legacy Looker platform. Reports were super slow, which means if we put ourselves into the shoes of our users, we just couldn't understand why. Like initially, we couldn't understand why they were not using Looker enough. But when we put ourselves into their shoes, we learned that it's not easy to stare at a screen for 15 minutes and expect the report to get downloaded and then start working. So I think the biggest learning curve over here was to have empathy and break down the goal into different, smaller wins, but definite wins. We've been super cautious while adding new functionalities and pieces into our new Looker platform. But whatever we add, we make sure we are partnering with our teams. So the people component of our projects has been super strong now, and the decisions that we take about, be it performance or be it adding new models into Looker or the new tech stack, we have made sure that we partnered with our engineering counterparts or the business counterparts, and made sure that they are a good partner. They know about the ins and outs, and they partner with us from the start to the end. So that I believe has led to a lot of recent successes for my team. I think those 2 points have really helped us build us also as professionals and, given us an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty common thing that I hear too in my experience across the industry is that a lot of these challenges tend to be social, as what I call social challenges, as opposed to technical challenges, right? It's training, it's earning buy-in, it's being good stakeholders, being empathetic, as opposed to the technology kind of rarely seems to be the challenge these days. So okay, let's jump into the next one. I didn't pick this one because it's addressed to me. I picked it because I accidentally marked it as answered already, so I apologize for that. But the question was, I was wondering, what are some of the programming languages that developers can write Looker plugins in? For that, I would encourage you to check out the Looker SDK kits. The Looker documentation does a great job of talking through that, and those are ways you can plug into the Looker API. The answer that I would give you there is that ultimately these are ways to help you write LookML, a SQL through LookML in the languages you're already working for. So these include JavaScript, these include Ruby, these include Python, among others. So I'd encourage you to check that out, and I think that would be the best way to do that. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question. Let's choose this one. Pooja, before migrating to BigQuery, what were some of the data warehouse challenges you faced, and how has I'll tack on my own part to this, the moderator's prerogative. What were how did BigQuery help you address these challenges?
Mm-hmm. One of our biggest challenge before BigQuery was the time to insight. We had an on-prem managed open source Postgres data warehouse. It was working great for us. However, the query speed was so slow that it would just drive our users away from all our reports, and it was not helpful at all. So that was our major challenge, and the time to develop as well. Over here with BigQuery, it's super easy. Once the workflow is set up, it's easy to build a model, plug a new feature in, and then give it out to the users. So that was like one of the biggest challenge. Apart from that, yes, it is open source. It's like you need to set up indexes and take care of the optimization piece on your own. Versus BigQuery, we don't have to take care of any sort of maintenance. There is no downtime. Looker has never been down. In fact, even during the COVID times when all the other factors were there was so much volatility in our in everything around us, but BigQuery and Looker was there constantly. Like they were the absolute constants for us. So that's one major blessing for us.
Yeah, and I could say, so before this role, I was managing our COVID public data sets. I helped launch that program, and I could tell you we've seen a significant spike in usage of those data sets, understandably so. And I can say that the scalability of BigQuery is just amazing to be able to handle that. So I can definitely see that being a benefit for y'all. Okay, so next question is, can different teams create their own transformed versions, views from the raw data, or is it only your team? I assume that's only the team that's managing this. And then how are you managing it? So I'll just kind of, I'll set the table here for you, Pooja, by just saying that, yes, absolutely, LookML can support that. Pooja, I think it would be really great if you could talk about putting a use case to that, kind of what does that look like, at least from Blue Apron's perspective?
Mm-hmm. So as Shane said, yes, definitely different teams can create their own transformed versions. In fact, some teams have their own way of monitoring special metrics. For example, our logistics teams, our logistics experts have to make sure that they have their top game, and they're making sure that the boxes arrive at the customer's door safely without any issues on time. And therefore they have their own way of monitoring data. And yes, they have made sure that they have plugged in information from raw data set into their own logistics data set. This can be done in BigQuery and Looker both. Once the metrics are stabilized, we have encouraged our users to move to Looker and create a more scalable report. But The answer to your question is definitely yes. They own the logic of the metrics. If a team specifically creates a new metric, but we are definitely around to help out in optimizing those queries and making sure that they are referencing the right, most accurate tables. And then we have all of this plugged into Git. So there's version control. There's definitely tracking of the changes made to the logic, the changes made to the metrics. So that really comes in handy.
Yeah, and I think just to build on what you said, Pooja, I think Looker kind of gives you the best of both worlds, where your team can kind of predefine those metrics so that you're at least getting an apples to apples comparison. Maybe it's a Macintosh apple to a Fuji apple, but it's at least apples to apples, as opposed to like an apples to lamps comparison, for example, right? So different lines of business can have the same definition, and it frees up your time to go back and say, hey, now the logistics department needs custom support, and your team can go out and do that now and focus on those kind of higher priority or higher impact efforts without having to recreate everything time and time again. Is that a fair summary?
That is a fair summary. Data team at Blue Apron is fairly small, and we have a lot of things on our plate right now. So the more self-service platform we make out of BigQuery and Looker, easier it is to get projects and metrics out of the door and for users to use it. So definitely that helps us.
Awesome. Okay, so the next question is referencing slide 7. So I'll go ahead and pop that up on the screen here. But the question was the internal model that you reference on this slide here in the graphic. Does that call out? Does that happen in BigQuery? Does that happen in Looker? And then the final model as well. What does that reference? Mm-hmm. Does that happen in BigQuery or Looker?
Okay, yeah, definitely. A blanket answer is that the approach that we have followed with BigQuery and Looker is that we complete 80 to 90% of our modeling work within BigQuery, and then just bring in those specific tables into Looker. Until and unless there's a need to plug in extra dimensions, then we reach out towards the source data set and then plug that in. But that's the approach. That's a standard approach. So model internal, what you see on the screen, it's all in BigQuery. In fact, those 4 blocks that you see on the screen, raw, source, model, internal, model, it's all in BigQuery. And once the cleansed data is available for users, that's when we plug those into Looker. And within Looker, we have our project-specific models and models so that we can have those explorers out there taking in information from the specific tables of model, internal, and model. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool parts of Looker is that you could, as you alluded to, you could do some of this modeling in Looker if you needed to, but you get the performance of BigQuery just because of how Looker and LookML pushes that query back down to the proper query engine, as opposed to building it into, that function out separate like you see in some other BI tools.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. So because of our audience, we have people who love to write SQL code in BigQuery UI, and then we have people who love to use Looker as well. We chose this kind of structure where like 80% or 90% of modeling is done in BigQuery, and then the 10% of just report building and metrics is done in Looker, because our analysts use BigQuery on a daily basis as well. So we wanted that information cleansed and reshaped and ready to use in BigQuery. That's just one reason. And as you mentioned earlier, like Looker is essentially just writing SQL code against these data sets. But Looker also has amazing caching features. So you are not running the same query again and again and paying the money for running that query. We have been fine tuning the cache parameters in Looker so that we optimize our query performances and costing. So Looker is super fast that way, and the ability to query the same data set if leveraged with the right cache parameters, it's really powerful.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's keep moving. So let me take a look at. I think this one's super interesting. So Pooja, could you talk a little bit about the process that you experienced converting from PostgreSQL to BigQuery? Was that challenging? Was that relatively simple? Just kind of at a broad level.
Mhm. Uh, the process was not simple at all, and if I'm truly honest, we still have pieces of our BigQuery data warehouse that we are still trying to decommission. But we use Airflow for ingesting data into BigQuery, and we were anyways bringing all the information into our raw data set. So the onus was on the data architecture and the DevOps team to make sure that we build a process to build out the models and cleanse the information into BigQuery. I think understanding what is most important for our business and getting models ready for those business needs to be catered to, that was our biggest impetus over here, and like the motivational point that if there is a business need to report certain financial metrics or comply by certain regulatory requirements, we wanted to make sure we prioritize those first and plug those pieces into Airflow and BigQuery, and then bring those data models into BigQuery. I'm sorry, that question is like really a good one, and there is so much that can be spoken to about data migration and decommissioning one data warehouse and moving to BigQuery. But there's no right answer. It's just prioritizing which models are super important for you, and then decommissioning models piece by piece. That's the way.
Yeah, I mean, Pooja, you and I could do like a whole separate webinar on that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because it's literally my job to do so, that there's a great partner ecosystem that exists, and including in addition to Google Cloud's managed Airflow service, Dataflow, the managed Beam service, in addition to Fivetrain, who's been a great partner that we work with. So that can help ease some of that migration challenges. BigQuery does support, there are some similarities between, BigQuery SQL and PostgreSQL. For instance, the GIS functions, the geospatial functions that are supported in BigQuery are very similar to those in PostgreSQL. But I mean, to Pooja's point, like it's never a simple migration. I think you highlighted it really well. The chief data officers I've worked with in the past, Pooja, have always said, migrate when it makes sense for you and migrate the workloads that make sense at the time. Prioritize these things and be deliberate and thoughtful about it. And it sounds like that's what Blue Apron was able to do.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Awesome. So I think we've had a couple questions similar to this, so I'll kind of encapsulate them all into one. Talking about streaming data or kind of real-time data, how close is your ETL or your ELT pipeline to real time? So once an event happens, let's say customer provides feedback, my feedback on a meal might be, I don't like pickles. And once that event happened, how long does it take for that report to become available for your teams internally?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Directionally, that's where we are heading. Right now, we have a snapshotting process built in Airflow, so that it just takes a snapshot of all the data and pushes it out to BigQuery. And we have a lag of less than 12 hours, I would say. And we solely use our data warehouse for all the historical analysis. However, there is a new piece. We are incorporating a lot of Kafka events, and our gaps between the data that you see in BigQuery or in Looker and it's almost as good as real time. And we're getting there. There are new functionalities and pieces that are becoming real time, but that's a new area. But that's a new area that we're going to be developing and modeling around. So the answer to your question, if you just report that a pickle is not fun for you, it's going to get to us right now within like the next 12 hours. But in the next few months, we'll definitely get to the point where we can look at it real time, and someone from CX is going to reach out to you, Shane, then.
Excellent. And I'll just tell them that I didn't eat the pickle, but I enjoyed the rest of the meal. Great. So So the next question here is talking about metadata, and I think this is a question that comes up a lot, but I'm excited to talk about it because I think this is something that Looker and LookML do really well. So how's the metadata for your data, both in the model data set and obviously for the data that you show your end users, shared with users in Looker? And then how do they understand both the various tables or views that you make available in Looker, as well as the columns and dimensions inside those?
Perfect. So the metadata for our data in model, as I said earlier, we are very big on adding tooltips and definition documentation. So plugging all of those in has been an immense help for us. So once we clarify and incorporate this information into our training sessions, we make sure that our users know what a measure is and where they can find a measure, and what a dimension is and how they can locate a dimension. So that has been working fine so far. Definitely there are teams that are more tech savvy and they pick up this information very easily, and there are teams who are more business oriented and it takes some time. But like building sample information and sitting with them and helping them build those reports on their own has been instrumental in sharing this knowledge with all our users.
Yeah, and I think Looker's new data dictionary that's available in the marketplace can help with that as well. That gives you a nice centralized place for users to go in and dig into that stuff and say, oh, okay, this is what they mean when they say a temperature. They mean water temperature, not air temperature, for example. And I think that's, it's super nice too when you're in the Explore interface in Looker, that the definitions you provided in LookML can pop up as tooltips so that they're available to the end user. And I think my impression is that having that flexibility has been really helpful for your teams.
We have a document for developers where we have made sure that all the nomenclatures lines up. So the way we describe data points in BigQuery lines up with the way we describe those fields in Looker. And we make sure that every Explore has a description, every new metric would have a description parameter out there in Looker. These are just ways for us to simplify our lives, and next time someone else requests an enhancement around a Looker, it's easy for us to just pick up from another developer and start working on it. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. That was great. So the next question talks about skill development for Looker, and this is a great question because they're right in asking that Looker's LookML isn't quite as universal as SQL. But so the question is talking about how do we train analysts and how do we scale that to teach them LookML? And do you view Looker as primarily stakeholder facing? I think there's kind of two questions there, but I think if you could at least talk to Blue Apron's experience of training your developers on LookML, that would be super helpful.
So our analysts come with a very strong SQL background, as you mentioned, Shane. They're good with SQL. On the LookML side, creating a sandbox and plugging in snippets really came in handy. And then we did schedule some one-on-one time with our analysts. And every time we see a new feature that could be used into those the different models, we make sure we spread out that information on different group chats and just be like, hey, have you seen this parameter? It's really cool. You can jump from this application to another. In Looker, I think this is my thumb rule. If you're writing more than 4 lines of code to achieve anything, you're not doing it the best way. So I usually take a step back and share this information with my analyst as well, because everything is super simple. If you want to jump from one application to another, that can be done in like 3 lines. If you want to have drill down features, can be done in 2 lines. So if I see my analyst struggling, I make sure that they know that there are open platforms and they can ask these questions to any of us on the group chats. So that and plugging in snippets has been super helpful. We have also introduced checks when they open the PR to submit the LookML code, we have introduced checks over there as well. So the chances of faltering are really, really very low. But apart from that, it has been an amazing journey where they are learning quickly and adding new pieces, and we monitor and review those PRs before they go into production. So we follow the best practices. The standards are out there. Everything is documented, like the best practices, the best way to code the LookML snippets, that's out there. And not to forget, the Looker's live chat feature is also awesome. So I believe they also reach out to Looker folks sometimes if we are not around, but it's all in all, it's like working seamlessly for us.
Yeah, and I'll say from my personal experience of learning to use Looker as it joined the Google Cloud family, that the IDE that's available within Looker is super helpful for this as well, and in fact it either was or is getting ready to launch an improved version of it. I think already has launched. I'd be remiss if I promised one and was wrong, but that for me was super helpful in learning, because it kind of gives you, it does a really great job, I think, of just providing the available arguments that can go into that function and saying, here's even your available list of dimensions and measures, to have that in front of you as opposed to expecting someone to memorize that. Because my experience has really been like, if you ask someone to memorize that, they kind of fall back to the same 2-3 of them. So having that full list available is just super helpful. So the IDE really accelerates that as well. Looker also has some great webinars that I've taken that are great for learning the foundations of LookML that can help users get started as well. In fact, I have a list of notes, a page of notes here that I kind of constantly refer back to from that course that have been super helpful. So yeah, there's definitely means to do that, but that was a great question. Pooja, I think could you kind of give us an example of an insight that your business team discovered using Looker that was surprising or unexpected, or that helped you make the business a little more efficient or a little better?
Mm-hmm. I think I remember a few incidences which my business team shared with us. Like, for example, from our feedback, we learned that the recycling instructions were not that clear, and our teams went and made sure that the recycling instructions were communicated clearly to all our customers. So I think this is pretty common, where like our business team would figure something out from the trends in data, and then go back and make sure it's all fixed from the data per se. I wish I could share more about it, but yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand you can't give away all of your business secrets, but that's a great example. Yeah. So next question, how is the process of scaling to additional teams? Or, how do you plan to onboard new users with everything you've learned? So I guess to summarize, taking your lessons learned, how do you make them lessons implemented as you continue to grow and bring new teams into this new tech stack?
Mm-hmm. One approach that has been super effective for us is prototyping. Since we have the experience of decommissioning those fragile spreadsheet-based models, what has really worked for us is prototyping in Looker. So when we meet our stakeholders, we don't promise them that you will have a fancy automated dashboard with all the metrics that they would need in Looker, but instead we have versions like a V1 cut of our model in Looker for them. We let them be a partner in the entire process. And that is super valuable for us, because they might think that they need A, B, and C as metrics, or A, B, and C as visualizations in their dashboard. But when they actually see the numbers and the trends in Looker, they'd be like, I don't need 4, 5, and 6. I'm just happy with this. Can you add another visualization of it? So I've seen the requirements change a lot, and having them as partners and prototyping and being open to working on the same model to make sure that they're happy until they're happy, it has worked wonders for us. So that's just like one way it has been easier for us to win the confidence of new team members and onboard them onto Looker.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all the time we have today. I think I'm getting the virtual equivalent of the hook here. But Pooja, thanks so much for joining us. This has been a fantastic discussion. So this brings the end of our webinar. Thanks everyone for joining today. You can see some resources here on the screen if you're interested in learning more information either about Blue Apron, about Looker, Google Cloud, and of course requesting a personalized demo as well. Thanks for joining us today, and look back for more webinars in the future.